All right. You're in, and I was like, oh, wah. There. Well, it was mostly trying to call candidates.
I got a bribe.
Well, thanks.
I know.
I'll run it back
City
over
Council.
as soon as we're done.
Oh.
Hi, Lauren. Hi.
Hello there.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi,
Are you-
everyone. It's the other Lauren.
Yay.
Whoop. I think you disappeared. Oh,
Who's the second one?
Lauren too.
Lauren Janney?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for rec maybe or?
What page are we
Yes.
starting?
Hi,
We-
it's Lauren too. Lauren Janney.
Lauren.
I'm gonna mute and turn off my camera because I'm cooking dinner, but I just wanted to follow along in case you guys had any questions for rec.
Perfect, thank you.
Uh-huh.
You want to start on the board?
Yes, so let's start on, so last week, just big picture, we got through the waste section. So as far as new cuts that we have not discussed yet, going 47 rec through capital reserve and looking at revenue is our new business today, but last week we did have a number of questions for the preschool. And we didn't want to discuss it much further without having the preschool present. So thank you both very much for coming. I did have a chance to, well, I sent an email to the preschool board and then had a chance to catch up with Emily briefly, just to provide some context for the questions that we discussed last time. And so happy to go through it again, but also happy to, I know you guys were gonna talk, so if,
Thanks, Emma.
I'm happy to start in whatever way is helpful, but if you.
Yeah.
Happy to just jump right in. Yeah, thank you for taking the time and coming back with some questions. And, you know, I think we potentially have a little less exposure to you guys on an ongoing basis than a lot of the other groups that we work with. Which, you know, we'd like to change if, you know, if it would be helpful for us to come in quarterly or every 6 months to kind of provide a bit more visibility on our end on what's going on with the preschool, you know, current events, how money is being spent. We're happy to do that. So I think that based on my conversation with Shay, it sounded like just maybe starting from the beginning a little bit as to like, you know, why we need town support, providing a bit more context for the reasons for the increases last year and this year. And then, you know, working with them and realize, I mean, you guys have a really hard job of putting this budget together, and from what it sounds like, you know, the whole time everyone's asking for more, and the whole budget is over 25% more. So which is not anything any of us want. So wanna, you know, work with everybody to be ultra conservative and mindful of that and see what we can do. So just to kind of run through this, you know, why we need town support. It costs us $262,000 to operate IPS on an annual basis. A huge chunk of that is budgeted for staff. I will like read this verbatim, you can read it in front of you, but largely for staff wages, summer help if we need it. We're actually still in the process of gathering our exact numbers for summer enrollment. The deadline for that is like 15th.
Yeah, we just opened on April 1st.
So, and capabilities are and what sort of our financial situation looks like, and we'll make the call after we get those numbers in. Substitutes and payroll taxes before the town healthcare subsidy, which is separate. We have roughly 129 or 130,000, call it, coming in between tuition, fundraising, endowment draw. We're not able to take more than 40,000 a year from the endowment. And main wage subsidy, which is an additional 14,000, which leaves us on an annual basis in a deficit of around 133,000. And just going back to, and we maybe should have reiterated this again last time you were in here, but from our meeting last year, you know, our ask from the town is really to help subsidize our staffing costs specifically, not, you know, any part of our other operating costs, just staffing. So we can compete with industry averages while keeping tuition affordable for island families. So Last year the increase went up because we had to add on an additional salaried employee because we had Lindsay doing 2 jobs, and we needed her to just focus on the executive director role, and hire another salaried teacher. And then this year, the ask to go up was to provide raises for our staff because we've just been doing a lot of research, realizing that a big part of our recruiting strategy is gonna be looking off island for talent and really looking at what other schools are paying, what they're doing. I mean, the school in Camden is putting like low income housing above like their school. I don't know if you've seen the big sign in front of their school, but a lot of these schools are trying to get really creative about how they attract and retain staff. So we've been thinking about sort of what we're paying people and what we would like, what we feel we need to in order to retain, but also help us compete and get somebody to wanna get in the line and come over here on the ferry every day. So, which we've actually found one person who's working part-time for us, which is great, step in the right direction. Anyway. So we gave some more thought to, the numbers and the proposal. I think we still want to do a 10% increase, but we don't need to ask all that of the town. I think that hiring retention is absolutely our biggest pain point and, a huge distraction for the board and the staff. It's just something that we're constantly working on. And if we have to worry about that a little bit less, then we can pour a lot more of our resources into things like really growing the endowment or fundraising, looking for grants, things that will lower costs for everybody. But we thought that maybe we could compromise a bit from what we understand. You're looking to do a raise of 3 1/4 to the other town staff wages, and thought that maybe we could counter propose that. We would do something similar. So bringing the 105 from last year's number plus 3 1/4 would be 109 and change. And we do feel that we need to increase our health insurance budget, just with the skyrocketing costs and healthcare, and the fact that we're not offering full insurance. And we're actually going to try and look into offering health insurance. That's one of the projects that we're looking into this year. I mean, from initial research, it's looking really expensive, but there's got to be resources out there. So that's something that we ultimately do want to be able to offer our employees, but with things costing the way that they are, we feel good about offering $7,000 for each of our full-time employees. Which would ultimately bring our ask from 14,000 down to 7, which is 50% less than what we originally came to it.
Thank you, guys. Does anyone have any questions? Or lingering questions or anything?
You were asking 144, right?
Yeah.
From less, yes.
And so-
For the budget on the screen, yes.
And with the current, it's now 137, so it's not 50% less.
Oh, well, it was, I think I would be.
50% less of it was a $14,000
Yeah.
increase.
That's for
And
the
so.
Yeah.
This is a $7,000 increase.
Okay,
Instead of
14.
14,000.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Do you guys require your employees to provide proof that they're using the money for health insurance?
There's no way that we could, when Laura was the chair, we were looking into this, and it was her and Lexi. So this happened right in like the interim of me taking over. And there was no way for us to, I guess, legally ask what the funds are being spent on. We did look into health savings accounts, and that just wasn't a viable option. I think it was gonna cost too much. I was unclear about that. So there isn't any proof being provided that that's what it's being spent on.
On a small scale, that's correct. HSAs are pretty much cost prohibitive, just not possible.
Yeah, it was a lot, so that was where there was a big thing, but I can personally say it has been very helpful. To just, I mean, in my own finances, set it aside, and then any bills that come up for the kids or co-pays, it's there. So that is really nice to kind of not have to necessarily worry about that.
Knowing our staff specifically have had a few health
Yeah, we all have kids.
challenges,
That are-
accident from this, but we feel the money's definitely being used.
I have a question. Out of curiosity, how does your tuition compare to other preschools?
We're significantly lower. Right now, it's about 400, like I just did billing, so it's about $442 a month for our pre-K students and like 580 or 90 for infant toddlers. And that's a month. And on the mainland, that would be a week.
Yeah.
So we are
We have
substantially
found it
lower.
very comparable though to kind of tricky locations similar to Islesboro. Like, for example, the preschool in Cass, is very similar to our structure. Within a couple of dollars.
And you, previously you guys said that you have 4 full-time employees?
We have 3
We have
right now.
3
We're
right
looking for
now.
that
We
fourth.
had a 4th who left us in December, so we're looking to replace that person, and we've had an army of substitute help kind of covering that position.
So how many? I'm sorry, I'm a little behind probably on this, but, so the number of children that you're working with last, the previous budget?
We went from, I think it was 15 or 16, and we're down to 12 now. We have 6 leaving, but we also have interest of like another 8 families already, for summer, and then more infants coming in the fall. So it should keep us at 12, so I don't think anything's gonna necessarily happen with our enrollment, with graduation.
We're anticipating enrollment to go down slightly, but we're going to require more smaller ratios for younger students. It's like 1 to 4 for infant toddler.
Yeah. I'm kind of a bad guy, so I'm looking at these, this is, so we're facing a pretty big increase this year across the board, so we're looking for areas that allow us to maintain costs from last year without impeding services where we can. So if you tell me a little more about, is the money going, because the insurance is you can't control. So I'm up on the line above that for 116 is the request. Versus the 105, that's primarily for salary increases. I heard you say, explain that to me further, please.
Real quick, remember, Steve, the 116 on the board is not quite what they're asking for anymore. It's now 109.
I'm sorry. Okay, well,
That's this.
okay, it wasn't in the box this morning, so I didn't.
Oh,
It was
no,
last
she
week.
just ended it out.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Oh, sorry, did I not give you one?
Nope.
I've got lots of them.
All right,
he's working in the dark.
I'm sorry, and I can't, you might as well put that in green.
Sorry.
Because I can't. All right, thank you.
had it 20 feet closer.
That will hopefully be helpful.
All right.
Yeah.
I did want to bring that up.
While you skim that, I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
ask a quick, last year we had kind of talked about, since from 2019 to current, you guys have jumped in the subsidy request from 65,000 to now 130,000. Have you guys had any further discussion about how you guys are going to work yourselves back from subsidy?
I mean, we need a concentrated effort to grow our endowment is really what we need to do. We've just, we've not had the capacity to really do that. It's really, we've been dealing with staffing situations and putting out fires over the last year. And largely because, Lindsay's had to kind of go back before and forth between being the executive director and also being an executive director and a teacher. And now that she's finally able to focus on just doing that role, then, that is something that we're really focused on, is trying to ultimately grow our endowment so we can pull more from it annually.
We're looking to increase fundraising. I think initially when we established our endowment, there was the promise that we never ask again from the donors. So we're kind of having to reestablish who we are looking to fundraise with. Because that promise was made, and I don't want to break that promise. I mean, they were super generous. The last thing I want to do is come back
That's a
and
rough
say,
promise.
so that promise was made when we got our new building, that whole thing. So we're looking at how we can frame fundraising, which was parent-led mostly, and then through COVID, that kind of dissipated. So now we have a fundraising committee, and now that I'm fully executive director, I'm gonna be focusing my efforts more on fundraising. So that's kind of our plan to kind of grow it, so that way our pool can cover our deficit. But for now, I would like to discuss in the future potentially like how we can wean ourselves down with our down and growing, but that's our plan for now.
And ultimately, I mean, we are looking at the whole, moving the 4 or 5-year-olds to the big school, which would make our budget request lower. I mean, ultimately from the town, could be a matter of moving numbers from one area to another, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's not something that, I mean, we don't have anybody graduating into pre-K until 2027.
Yeah, we won't have a graduation unless someone moves here for the next like 2
I
years.
should know this, it's my son's.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's just, my concern is that this isn't sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so and I'm sure you guys know and have seen that there's current bills that are going through right now through multiple different states. That they're trying to cap how much money, taxpayer money, can be given back out without a town vote specifically for it.
Mhm.
Arizona was the one that just passed it. And Washington State capped theirs at $8,000. And so it's not a percentage of the budget or anything like that, because people have started moving forward with that. They don't want their taxpayer money should be, they should want to be able to determine what happens with it. And so, and especially at this amount, I worry that if any of these bills come through and you guys don't have a plan, you guys won't have $100,000 from the town anymore.
So you're saying that the town wouldn't ultimately be voting on it?
No, like specifically, it would be its own individual article
Okay.
that would have to go in front of the town, and you guys have to do a presentation and stuff like that with them, saying, do you want to allow the town to subsidize the preschool? And so,
Well,
and
they
it would go
already
to the,
can, you know, at town meeting, people can cut certain parts of the budget.
yeah, that is true.
They can also add to it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's.
Yeah, I mean,
Bring that up and then typically someone,
Yeah.
I mean, I know, it's like, I mean, unfortunately, it's not cheap to run a school. I mean, if I would love to not have to be here tonight and like not have to be asking for more money, like personally, I don't want my taxes going up. I'm a big fan of being conservative about these things, but like, this is like our reality. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and you know, we will continue to find ways to run as thin as we are, but like, these are our expenses and operating costs. Like, I don't know how to spend less on staffing right now and be successful. Is the truth.
Oh, Lauren, did you have your hand raised?
no, I'll go ahead and say something anyway. I think until the state of Maine follows a similar course, that's just conjecture. We don't have anything at this point that would do exactly what Melissa's referring to. And even now, if this budget goes to the town meeting, the town can vote for an increase or a decrease. So it's still up for a town decision, even after tonight.
And we can look at increasing tuition even more, but a lot of our families are already taking advantage of like the community fund. So I'm just worried if we did just do an increase. Not to say that we're not gonna look into that over the next year and take it into account, but you know, it's a really fragile ecosystem that we're trying to deal with, and
I mean, I personally think that, you know, we're a rural, very small community, and if we don't have the services to attract families here, like, there's not much hope for the future. I mean, I think it is a lot of money, but at the same time, I think we need to be investing in ways that keep families here. So, I mean, I personally appreciate, you know, you looking at it and doing what you can to kind of meet your needs and bring it in line with more of what the town is doing. You know, I'm comfortable with this change, and I sort of wonder, you know, I know at our last meeting, we talked a bit about, you know, just like, what was the purpose of the subsidy? Like, how did we get there? What's the relationship between the preschool and the town? And, you know, I think if we can kind of commit to finding ways to work together more frequently during the year, I think, you know, in an ideal world, we can offer you know, figure out how to offer support and resources that aren't just monetary, that hopefully help to, you know, help you feel like you can see some light and focus on fundraising, focus on your fundraising too. You know, I think if we have those conversations, then it can only increase our understanding and support for each other, hopefully.
I think that was very well said, Shay. Thank you. And I agree. I think I'm seeing the focus of Emily and the director on working with the select board and continuing to find ways to raise funds for the preschool. But I feel very, very strongly that support for the preschool by the community is serving the community. It is ultimately a bedrock for us to have good, strong families and community growth and the school system thriving and in every direction. And having babysitters is quite a different thing than having a curriculum, which is what they're offering at the preschool. So that was my comment.
Yeah, my last comment would be, you guys are educators, not fundraisers, so I would work really hard at finding someone who wants to take this on as a champion from a fundraising standpoint and use that individual to really, bring this requirement to a higher level than you're able to do, because we all have skill sets and that's not your skill set. So find someone, if you can, that can do so. No.
Love kids.
They're great. Yeah, thank you. I would just want to say as well that the staff that we have right now, they're very focused on professional development, and I'm really happy with the staff we have. I think we have a good core staff with Morgan and Paris, and they're really interested in growing their knowledge about early childhood, and using our new time productively to do that and improving on our rating system and everything. So I'm really happy, and I would like to retain the staff that we have the best that we can.
Do you have money in your budget so this is help pay for training for them?
Yes, we have staff training.
So my last question would be, your first line of your total cost is 262,000. The breakdown then, what's your total cost for staff?
It's the
178
178,000.
is the total for the staff. Do you have like a tiered compensation system, or are you all kind of paid the same?
It's based on experience, and degrees and all that.
What would be can you tell me just like what an average salary might be right now under your current? I don't need.
The range is between like 33 and 38,000.
Okay, and then 6,000 on top of that with the.
Mhm.
Hopefully for health insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions, comments? All right, so should we reduce the budget for their request and move to the next?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know it is not fun asking for money, and so thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, but you want me to stick those in the basket?
I can stick them on my car too.
Oh,
Okay. White.
Yep.
Okay,
cool. I'll be right
thanks,
back.
honey.
Yeah.
Gonna sell a lot more note cards here for preschool. I'm telling the board here, they gotta buy some preschool
Thank you.
note cards.
Thank you.
I know.
Their revenue.
So that the $7,000 savings, we just.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Recreation.
Page 12.
I need. I mean, the only substantial increase is, I guess, with the Lighthouse Museum and the $24,000 request there.
Right.
I honestly don't remember what what the plan for that $24,000 was. I know that he told us that's not on, it's not on him. But I'm just wondering if any of that can be deferred this year or.
I think it's, a lot of it's long overdue. Where is restoration? Museum, repair, replace clapboards, painting. In the annex, replace dormer shingles, repair clapboards, painting and restore 10 windows.
We get a list of the priorities on that, maybe, because that will be probably gonna time to do that too. To figure out like which of those projects they really need to push to the front.
Yeah, we
can get them
can't.
down by,
That's
if we
not
get them
gonna
down to $8,000, get them down to like, put the windows next year, we do the clappers this year.
Right.
Yeah,
They're doing a good job with their own fundraising.
Oh, yeah, no,
Trying
it's-
to do restoration work. So this is all stuff that we should have been doing. A lot of stuff that they've done, is probably the town should have done it. It's just not.
right, yeah, no, not to say that they're not doing a great job themselves, just.
Do you feel like is there
Should
revenue, did
be
their revenue
increasing.
projections go up?
They were up last year by 40%. So between what we expected and what we actually got, they were up by about 40%.
I don't think I have a revenue.
Well, we don't, their revenue doesn't go against their budget per se. I mean, they
No, it doesn't.
hold it for buying supplies.
And they use a lot of their revenue
They did use some for
for
repairs.
the
And they
repairs.
did use some.
And so, you know, anything that comes out of for the most part, anything that is paid for out of the museum. Like if you buy something in the museum, all of that money goes back into, they're using that to try to get the lantern room open.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so,
The consigners
Repairs above
get-
and beyond what happened.
Yeah, the consigners get whatever their consignment is, the
Yeah.
lighthouse keeps the rest, but like I said, sales were up about 40% last year compared to previous years. And that was only with a partial season of accepting credit cards, so
mhm.
hopefully with a full season of accepting credit cards, the revenue will be up even more.
And they're actually opening earlier and they're
Yeah.
saying open until Lighthouse Day. That's that line, on page 12, 47-2, 1015, the hostess, they increased the hours of having it actually accessible and opening weekends sooner. And so that's the reason how come that one went up just a little bit, but that'll get covered by the revenue. Easy. I think that it would be. Could you? I know that 24 is what the overall anticipated amount is. Last year they asked for 10. And so I think I would be comfortable splitting the difference with them and doing like 14, 15. Give them the extra $5,000 because that's gonna be the clapboards and then the big part of the annex. There's a hole that needs to get filled and I remember seeing the bill for whether they're gonna do concrete or a steel plate. And they're trying to get approved. Everything that they do has to go through the Lighthouse Commission, the Preservation Society, because it's an antique. Thank you, historic property. And so it takes a little bit longer and unfortunately it costs just a little bit more, kind of like the library, whenever they're doing stuff, they have to make sure that it's certain ways. But I'd be comfortable asking them to prioritize it for this year to next year.
So let me, just so, because I can, so it costs around 8 or say 9 or 10,000 to have people staff that facility, right? And then the budget, just covered that last year. I'm reading that 10-1,
Mhm.
and then now they're asking for 24.
Oh, for
So,
repairs, you mean?
yeah. So I'm looking at. So I guess my question is. in this year, that's, we can't go from. Am I reading this right, 10 to 24?
Correct. Yeah, that's what they're asking for.
Okay,
They have projects in the works right now, things that will be happening before June. I mean, things might not have been done because it says here they've only spent $45 to date, but the things that will be happening.
Yeah, I guess the question, I mean, I know that they have done a lot of work and a big push. Are we getting close to the end of that push, or do we think that this is an ongoing trend that's gonna increase?
yeah, because I mean, with the Sea Rise where its location, is this just gonna go from 10 to 24 to 40 to 70? I mean, it's gonna get hit again. We just gotta,
Well, they haven't,
Would you propose to shut it down?
no, but I guess maybe I would love to have a detail like this on this. Like, what we got just now from the
Right.
preschool. Maybe.
He was here for the first one, who did give us stuff, let me see if I have it. Cause he's met for the first time, we've gone through it.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if I brought it with me or
If
not.
I'm the only one who thinks that's too high, please.
No, I think,
No, I think 24 is too high also, but I don't think that it's unreasonable for them to ask the town to pay to.
Keep it going.
Right.
Yeah, and it had been
And-
neglected for so long, so they're catching up on repairing.
All this deferred maintenance is not coming due.
My point is this isn't the year to do a lot of deferred maintenance. So what would be
I'm
a
not
fair?
disagreeing.
No, but what is a fair number? And I don't have the background.
do we know what the initiative was for 2024 when they spent 19.6? Because maybe if we can figure that out at all, we can figure out what more, like what a reasonable would be now. Because I was almost thinking more like 16 or 18 to give them to keep it more in line with what they'd spent in 24.
Right.
That way it's not like, we don't cut them down below that. Because honestly, things are more expensive, so if they're doing anything even similar to what they did in 24, they're gonna need,
Right.
but they're not gonna need necessarily 6,000 or 7,000 above that.
I mean, I can pull up a detailed list, it'll take just a couple minutes. That's what you want.
I mean, what I'm kind of,
Cause a big
I
part
guess so,
of the 19 was all of the storm damage repair.
right, but if the storm damage repair was like fixing windows and repainting and doing new clapboards or something, to like repair what was lost.
No, it was just the emergency repairs. They had to move the boathouse back onto the foundation. And they had to pay for that out of that budget. And then all of the windows and the one side that had the annex
Right.
got completely flooded out. A lot of it was just
Right.
getting it back up, we did that. We didn't even pay. All of the volunteers got everything cleaned out of there. And then preserving, we had to send a handful of the artifacts that had been
Oh, yeah.
damaged.
Okay, so we don't know what.
And so
we don't have
this
any
year,
cost estimate on what it is they're trying to do.
I do, I'm actually trying to find it,
For 23,
24.
24 at 19,006.
Hmm.
Because I mean, if they could give an estimate and show what it is that they're, give us their priorities, give us the estimate, we can give a more exact number than just kind of winging it here.
cause in 24, they did a $30,000 repair down there on the foundation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Right,
that's in 125.7.
right, whatever, yeah. So far, we've talked about structural repairs and restoring artifacts, not. Right.
So Lauren is online if we wanted to ask her for more detail.
No,
You
this
have
is for the lighthouse.
Oh, okay.
I'm just surprised Ken's not here.
I mean, I guess.
So it's the annex estimate that came in was $11,000.
And then is that just for painting and windows and whatever else on the annex itself?
That's what the 24,000 this year that they're asking for is specifically to repair and replace the clapboards plus paint with white trim. Repair the clapboards and the dormer shingles plus the 2 windows and the 2 windows in the annex and the 8 windows in the museum. which is going to be primarily done with volunteer work by the committee members. It was 24,000 for the clapboards and the paint. The annex itself, the $11,000 for that is to repair the clapboards, replace the dormer shingles, and restore 2 windows. And so
But
they
I
do actually
still
have
like-
the estimate that came out from Bob Tapini is one of the guys that does the work.
That's
Yeah,
more what I'm thinking about,
Yeah.
just hearing them say it's gonna cost 24,000.
No, that was-
Not.
and that's for the materials. And then Bill Thomas, Mike Clayton, and another guy is doing a handful of the work, so we don't have to pay for labor on it.
I mean, it's an increase, but I also feel like, I mean, it takes a lot of time to actually get somebody who's interested in pulling together an estimate to do the work. And if we're at a time and place where we have those numbers and we have 3 capable people who are willing to do the work for us,
Right.
it-
That's where it gets hard. So
then, stopping that momentum, and I feel like it's gonna end up costing us the town more in the long run if we don't take advantage of the volunteer labor now. We're gonna end up paying a contractor twice that
later
when
on.
it's an emergency.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And this is not including, so it's $11,000 next year for the annex. So they actually did go ahead and prioritize it out. So it's the 24,000 for the clapboards plus paint with the trim. And then $800 for the restoration of the 8 windows by committee members for the supplies. That's why they're only asking for 24,000 instead of 35,800.
Oh, I see.
I'm very much a layman in this role, but is it $24,000 for clapboards for a building of that size sound reasonable?
Hype, yes. And so we're trying to get, because we do have to have a professional to go up there and get the clapboards is what the
Right.
Bob Tapini is. So that he finds it, does it, and then everybody else's scrapes, paints and props.
Well, you don't want Ken climbing up a ladder?
I would happily put Ken up a ladder. Wow. No, I'm kidding. He is a professional. He's got this. I'm also going to tether him to the building, but I trust him.
All right,
So with that, are we back to just keep it the way it is for right now?
sounds
Well,
good.
let's move on and we can,
Or told him to do the annex for the 11 grand.
Right, could we do that? Could we push them to the annex this year? And buy them another year of possible fundraising time or possible volunteer support gathering and give them a chunk to do, but not this and that.
The restoration is not coming in like I think they hoped. They haven't really
Right,
gotten together and
Yeah.
done a full push out, so.
And my thought is, that committee should be really focused on fundraising in the future. To start to, try to shift, because this number is gonna keep going up. And,
They have done fundraising. I do want to make sure that that's.
Oh, yeah.
that
no,
that's-
I'm sure they have,
For
but
their,
they
for
need,
restoration.
Setting out
some
mailers
people
and-
are
yeah.
dedicated
Yeah.
to that facility and really wants to,
I mean, I feel like they have that now. I feel like they're in like their second or third year of like having a really energized
team.
team,
Yeah.
so I think.
Okay,
Cause what, this year they did 57,000?
57,000 and what?
For the fundraising, for the,
Donations.
yeah,
Oh, I'd have to go back and look. I don't know. that.
I mean, they raised a
not money.
huge chunk. And that was off of
They
a letter
did,
writing.
and a lot of their repairs were paid for out of the
Yeah.
fundraising.
Okay.
Monies that
That's
they
fair.
raised. I mean, they have been doing repairs in addition to their budgeted money based on what they have raised, so.
And well, I say we ought to just keep it, but
Keep a close eye on
yeah,
it.
but that's another group we should have in quarterly to,
With the understanding that it needs to be
yeah,
clamped down a little bit.
right,
It's, or potentially a lot,
yeah.
I think that it'll help too when they have the lighthouse that is open for the tours
yes.
and everything, because that puts us on a whole different map through Camden. They
Yeah,
have
that's
reached
for
out,
cool.
they're getting all of the lighthouse enthusiasts that do the tours.
Yep,
They're getting them hard scheduled, they're charging them admission, and so Cause that was the big push this year, was to get the lantern run open, because then we'll be one of 5 in all of Maine that you can actually twirl a lantern.
Yeah, cool.
And
I
so
agree.
I think that'll help too.
I agree with all of everybody's perspective on this because I think once you have the contractors and the volunteers agreeing on a price, we need to jump on it because as we know, those can go up and up as well.
Okay.
Right.
And the goal, at least with the lighthouse, is to eventually be repaired and restored and then, then they will really subsist off of their own kind of revenue and fundraising and things for the most part.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Recreation harbor facilities? Are we on?
Yep, went
Because the
down.
maintenance, there's a
Right.
3526.
Isn't that floats and piers and inclines and things, yeah.
I said there was some structural issues with the floats at Critical Point this year. There were structural issues at Patriot, I believe.
Yes.
There's inclines
They're
on
having
the
an
sides that
engineer
need to get brought out.
Coming to look at
Yeah.
the Mosley dock,
Mosley's right, yeah.
yeah, so, they have, need some money for that.
That one-
Then they'll probably need a grant if they're gonna do the actual work.
Honestly, I would have more to say about it, except that as I keep asking them to possibly consider meeting more than once quarterly. I cannot remember what we said this was, and my notes aren't here, so. It's something to do with the structure of Mosley's, getting an engineer to make sure it's done properly. There was incline work that had to get done. At Brindle Point, which are the ramps going down in. And there might have been maybe some dock work that was getting done. I don't quite recall.
At both of them.
Again,
Because they're already at
3 months
16.
back. Yeah, I see, and this is, just from my perspective. I mean, I don't wanna pit 2 different.
Here's
Organizations
the
against
tech.
each other, but. That this is, I'm inclined to give them what they need to support keeping our working waterfront fully functioning. I would be more inclined to give them that without question. Than I am to give the Lighthouse 24/8. On some element of fundraising in some way, but they're far more of a municipal organization.
You guys are talking about doing it, cause, paying for mooring spots.
Right, well, that's
Yeah, but
so
it's a
far down
conversation.
the line that we're
Yeah,
not, yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean,
but
and
it is
I
something.
would, right, but for this year.
No.
My bigger issue with that, and this is one I've asked about it, I've never gotten a straight answer, and everyone kind of kicks back into like, this is how we've been doing it, this is what we were asked to do. This $15,000 a year that we pay to Lincolnville to use their dock. I understand we do use it a lot, but we help pay for its construction as well.
They
If I
made a
recall,
donation.
and we continue to pay them $15,000 a year.
Well, it's only been 15 the last few years. I mean, before that, I think it was a pittance that we paid
That
them.
was 5.
It might have been 5,000 for many years.
Yeah, that would be.
Then we were asking for repairs, new incline, we wanted this, we wanted that, so that's when they kind of said, okay.
Yeah, I don't have any problem. I mean, we use the Lincolnville Pier far more than Lincolnville
Yeah.
uses their pier.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying, yep,
I know at one
it's
point,
like
and
a
I
huge amount of property tax basically to be paying on that pier, we helped pay to build it. And we pay 15,000 a year to rent it from them, sort of. So part of it just seems like a lot of,
I'll take that on. I mean, I'll call them if you want and see if we can get a 10 grand. This,
I mean, I don't wanna
It just
I
seems-
don't wanna
that's a
put,
lot.
I don't wanna put a wrench in years of our relationship, but
Yeah.
also like, if we're looking at things that, like.
Especially right now with all the ferry stuff going on, like maybe.
yeah, I mean, I think we need to be aligned with Lincolnville. I know at one point they offered, and we had a member of Islesboro sat on their harbor committee. I sat on it for a number of years, like 10 years ago. And I don't know if there's still a seat for her to,
You mean
It's like that.
15?
Yeah, that's sort of where I live, a lot of this stuff, is like, if you can show me that it's being used, like, even if it's not my opinion wisely.
I think Dave did say what they were doing.
I think I got, at most, I don't recall seeing anything, I mean, and again, I'm not like an accountant, I don't know the ins and outs of the intricate numbers side of it, but. Like, just saying, we 15,000, we did this, this, and this. For me, that kind of translates to, we spent 3 on this, 2 on that, 1,500 on that. And that might just be me being sort of cynical about politicians and the government, but
Which is what a select
It is.
person is.
it is what it is, you know? I'm in the process, I'm also in the process of having my budget of my job, like picked apart penny by penny, proving this, that, and the other, so I'm inclined to
Yeah.
believe that that's something we should probably be doing if we're trying to be stingy with our money.
If anybody wants to know, we have been paying 15,000 since 2000 or 2020. That's as far back as my other book goes. Cause I do like looking at that, but just that way for the past 5 years we have been.
Yeah,
I mean, I do think, can you go back and look at what I feel like maybe he followed up, did he follow up via email after our joint meeting? About the harbor committee
What the money
plan,
goes to.
yeah.
How they spend our 15,000.
Well, I know that we talked through a number of different improvements, like one of them I remember being like a lifting hoist for the incline so that they could put the incline up and down for a storm, you know, pretty rapidly as like a future repair. I mean, I think things like that would make a big difference.
Yeah, no, I will. I'll look back.
So I think I'm more inclined to want to try to get active in making sure that it's being used in a way that, you know, makes sense, and it's the part of some of the tensions that we may be experiencing as we use their pier, but I think we use it a lot, and
No, I know they're very grateful for our,
75,000 over the last 5 years.
yeah.
yeah, well, it's expensive to do repairs. Buy new inclines.
they did just put in, I mean, they had to drive a bunch of pilings that
Yeah, so-
from
Yeah,
their
those things were.
storm repairs.
I mean, it does seem like this is not the year to try to change the relationship, but I agree with Pete that maybe we could go forward with asking for more information. You know, in terms of the budget and how the money is spent. And maybe, like Shay said, perhaps there's somebody who could sit on their board or their committee in the future.
All right, recreation. Are we having fun yet?
So much fun.
And that salary increase, everybody's cool with. Same thing on the splice tax.
So you might not have saw it on the first one. They're taking on all of the preschool kids this summer.
Okay,
And so that's a big part of why they have to increase it.
yeah.
Because I think they're taking, they needed more staffing and then more of the supplies because they are opening up to a younger age. That way the preschool doesn't have to have the summer kids.
And they also are renting the IC3.
So where does that leave the preschool then? Some of their summer population, are they now gonna be dropped down to like?
They'll have kids there. I mean, kids drop in the summer.
Right, no, it's just a 4-year-old. It's taking like one age group of kids, I guess 5-year-olds, the kids that are
Yeah,
graduating to the,
$5,000 for snacks. All right,
yeah, well, I'll say, I could speak to that one. The supply stacks is 1,000, rentals 4,000.
okay.
And I would say 1,000 honestly is probably kind of conservative for that many kids, for that many
If that's,
kids.
if that's.
Just for my own expertise on that specific matter.
You used to eat a lot of snacks.
No, I serve snacks to children.
Oh.
So
yeah, I mean, I feel like this has gone up, but the other thing is the revenue, I believe, is also projected to go up, so the net increase is less than the 13,000 that is shown here in expenses.
Okay,
I believe rec is also looking to open up to some adult recreation as well, which they do anticipate will increase revenue.
They're not budgeting much for ads.
No,
$300.
nope, but
Oh, they charge them to come and do something.
But Lauren is here. Lauren, do you have either any money that we can take out of your pockets or?
No. You guys have your work cut out for you this year, don't you? First of all, the adult rec, we're gonna bring the half marathon back. and we are gonna charge and try and use that as a fundraiser. It's our first year, so we're just being super conservative, but we do hope down the road, we can use a model a little bit more like North Haven, and they fundraise a ton of their money through events, mainly in the summer. As far as cuts go, I mean, I don't want to offer this up, but I know you guys do have your work cut out for you. I think Colleen's salary increase, while I think it is absolutely fair, it brings her to about $22 an hour when you look at how much we expect her to work as the rec director. It's a big increase for 1 year, and we've talked about stretching it out over maybe a couple years. And I've talked to Colleen about that. So I think there's potential there. I think that's the biggest opportunity, honestly.
What's that increase? Is that a percentage wise? Is that?
It's $5,000.
Yeah.
Lauren,
Yeah.
have you guys considered going back to the school and requesting use of the town-owned Kennebec Center?
Okay.
That way you guys don't have to pay the $4,000 to the ICC. I was curious as to how that went, as if you guys had plans to go back to the school also during the summer in order to help cost savings.
I think from a cost saving standpoint, it's a really good idea to consider. From satisfaction, I know people are much happier with it at the ICC. But that being said, if the Kennebec Center is an option, it might at least give us leverage to negotiate with the ICC, because I think it's a win-win. I think it's a win for the ICC, honestly. And when we established that that contract, we were out a place to go, right? So we didn't have much leverage.
Good idea. Good approach then.
Tell her that. I'm out of school.
Well, I think that's a good idea. I think we should look at exploring that. And
It seems like four grand is so, it seems high for 2 months
Yeah.
when we have a facility.
yeah,
If, or what you know better than me.
I know
what
nothing
goes-
at the school.
Well, you knew for years, and then
Fair
what
enough.
goes on in the summer, I mean, it's always hard, that's their time for cleaning up and doing repairs, that sort of thing, so I think that's kind of what. Maybe Dory,
Yeah, if she's not back.
or it's a ghost. But that is a time that they do, if you spoke to someone at the school, Dick Silly, he would say. Stay away, but they have been nice. And then use the outside, quite a bit, they go there and.
And they have that brand new playground equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of inclined to leave it as it is right now and keep moving and see where we land. That's my personal feeling on this one.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable to move along this, but I think we should definitely push to inquire about the school. You know,
yeah, like,
they can do it. I don't want to speak for them, but. You know,
Could we tell Lauren, plug your ears for a second? Could we tell Lauren that she should go to the school and say that the select board has said that she needs to negotiate with them in order to do it? Like,
just to get the
like
negotiating.
we're
chip with
pushing
the
for us to utilize town-owned facilities.
I'm
I
okay
don't
with
know.
that. I think even if you guys said you weren't gonna do anything with our budget tonight, I really do like the idea of trying to negotiate a better price at the ICC or potentially go back to school, you know? I think there's opportunity there. And honestly, Colleen has mentioned it to me as well. So
Excellent.
I'll put that on our to-do list.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
All right, so no changes to this page.
that's the, but nothing here.
Okay. Question. Agency.
Wait, 40-11.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I moved on, sorry, mine's all on one page, so,
Oh, well, I'm 40-11, line item consultants.
40 up,
Summer camp,
48 one, are we on agencies?
no, we're still on rec.
that's all the summer
Yeah,
counselors.
that's summer counselors that,
Are we increasing the number? I mean, that's a
yes.
$7,000,
because we're
almost an $8,000.
Taking on the preschool students.
Okay, so we shifted?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay, are we moving to agency?
Yep.
Right. I would propose bringing the outreach worker back down to 15, what it was last year, since we don't have an outreach worker right now.
I second that.
Oh, we already did that.
Yeah.
Yep, that's already
Oh,
done.
all right, great, sorry, I'm trying to work off of the old
I
budget.
know,
'cause
well,
it's
we're
seeing-
working on 3 or 4.
Okay,
I know.
sorry about that. All right, well then I should probably do what I. Anybody have anything they want to talk about here?
Just down on classify the auditors. I mean, do we,
Nothing we can do with them.
Nothing we can do with them.
I already asked. It's
why,
the,
are they spending more hours or are they just increasing?
She says they have spent helping a lot of, during the year, we're always contacting them one or another.
Less so now, but there's still a lot of cleanup that needs to be done.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's a 20-some% increase. I mean, even if we said we're gonna cap it at 36 or 7, it might be, see what they say. I mean, I don't, it just seems like you're watching the hours, I'm assuming, right? I mean, do we have the hours in 24 compared to,
no, I don't know. When they invoice us, if she puts her hours down, I don't remember.
They invoice us as an hourly or as a
I
contract, an
think it's a
annual
I
contract?
believe it's a contracted thing, yeah.
well, then
I
I
think-
definitely think we need to,
I think the idea is that the hours are, or have gone up. So I think the idea is the contract needs to be renegotiated from their end.
yeah, I would like to see a contract where it's, you know, a flat rate, you know, we get a yearly hourly rate, number of hours equaling a lower number than that. And see what their thoughts are. No?
Brian, you can try that.
I'll ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, Brian, tell them, I mean, this is a difficult year for us, you know, how do we work together to make, you know, have this around 36, 37 and still receive the support we need? Is there a way of doing that? And just ask simply like that, and they'll give us their input.
We never know how much we're gonna need her. I mean, that's the other
Right.
thing. We can't say, well, budget for 20 hours or 50 hours. She's actually coming up here next
Potentially the end of the month.
end of the month to spend 2 or 3 days. She goes to the school and then she comes here for a couple of days to do that last year's audit.
Do we pay for the school's audit too?
No,
Okay.
I'm just saying, you know, if it's an open-ended agreement, then there's no reason for them to be cognizant of watching their hours, and that's probably not appropriate. I mean, somebody should be tracking the work. And then, you know, getting a report at the end of the year, even if it's a once a year.
there was
Because if
the
they-
audit.
Huh?
At the end of the year, we get our big audit at the end of the year.
But that's an audit on us, right?
Yeah.
Not an audit on them.
Correct.
And we need services like that should be reviewed from. Same thing, an audit principle, what are we getting for the money we're spending?
I see what you're saying. I have no problem asking.
Yeah, I mean, that should be an annual report that we get and. So,
Just out of curiosity, what are you kind of thinking is your ideal target? You said 35, 36.
well, I was back like, I mean, I'm sorry, close to. Auditors, they're asking for 40, it went from in 22 actual, basically 30. to 37 and they're up to 40 now, that maybe their rates have gone up and stuff, so, you know, but, you know, I would like to keep it flat from last year to this year and ask them, how do we do that?
Good.
Do we need, and also say that we would like a true up at the end of the year just to see services rendered and, you know, a listing of activities in the hours. They keep that because that's how they bill internally. Wouldn't be hard to get that report.
Capital reserves.
Oh,
Mhm.
We moved out of capital reserve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to talk about there?
We said we're moving on, and I thought you had one
No,
more thing, and then you said that,
opened
and
my
then
mouth.
I would.
Oh, sorry, I didn't, I wasn't trying to cut you off, if that was.
You've done that forever. Oh, good.
Fred did like the idea, I don't see him on here, about putting away some money here for future public safety training. And if we did decide, and there actually is a line here that's been here forever, future project.
Where's,
It's the second from the bottom. Are you looking at
yeah,
page 17?
yeah, we got it.
Okay. That's just been there a long time, future project. I don't know whoever started it, but if you wanted to put money there for Fred's, we could put a slash and say future project, public safety training or whatever. And if he doesn't use the $14,000 in his budget right now, at the end of the year, I would transfer that into there. And then if you wanted to put any more. budget
No, it's
more,
not, but, okay.
I'm not losing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was an open, Pete's point in the last meeting, that was a 14 grand that just kind of keeps rolling over every year. We never get
No, it
anything
doesn't
for
roll
it, so
over.
maybe you
It goes
combine,
into undesignated fund and we end up spending it on town priorities.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
But if that's something that you.
I like that idea.
I'd rather put that 14,000 into capital reserve, so we can keep building on it, and move forward with it in the future, and if that's what we're talking about.
Another 14?
No,
That-
the
just
14 that
that
Fred wants,
14?
if he likes the idea of putting that in the capital reserve. So that we can continue adding to it, continue letting it grow for when we do need it,
You're saying just do it,
just do it.
just put it in capital
I think
reserve,
we
don't
should.
budget it. Or don't add it into his budget, just put it in capital reserve and sit on it until we need it.
Yeah, I mean, rather than having him ask for 14,000 every single year for it.
Well, he's
That's
probably
what
gonna
the
need more than
conversation-
14,000 if he's gonna have, be training or have something. That's, I think he was thinking you were gonna add to the 14, but I mean, I could move that 14. Yeah,
I have no interest in doing that.
I actually had a different, I read his email differently in that it seemed like he was hiring, he was going through the process of hiring somebody, so it feels like if we're really serious about hopefully hiring somebody to that position, to me, that's an operating expense, it should be in the operating budget, but I would, and he was hopeful that maybe they wouldn't require a lot of training this
yeah,
year.
depends on who he.
Yeah,
wants.
but I mean, he has some training budget.
Yeah.
In his budget, but I do think it's worth, if we can, put future project, public safety training or whatever, so that we don't lose any of that 14. And we can roll it over for future, I would support that. I wouldn't wanna add more to the capital reserve, I wouldn't wanna.
And I probably would wait until, if he is finding someone, because then he would be using some of that 14, I guess, whatever's left over.
Cause he had 14 this year, right?
Yeah.
In the current, and so he could use that for the remainder of this year. If we take the 14 from next year and put it into the capital reserve. For that specific. Fred,
That'd be
Fred, from,
right there, isn't it?
yeah, but if he
This-
hires
this
somebody
year's
before the
budget.
end of,
minus
Plus
what
next
he
year's
uses this year. it'd be
yeah,
fine.
if he doesn't.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, provided, I'm thinking that he's gonna hire somebody before the end of this fiscal year, and so then he can dwindle the 14 that he's got there. And then the next year's,
Intended to be for salary. I thought. Am I remembering that
is
wrong?
it?
I thought that was a salary for the person.
Probably,
Whoops, public safety.
That makes more sense.
Patrol officer 14.
This is under public
And
safety.
is that possibly why we started talking about it as being more of a capital reserve line? Because we keep budgeting for something we don't have rather than budgeting once.
Well, I thought it was kind of more for training. I mean, yeah, you would, I wouldn't, well. I wish he was here to.
Well, he would tell us that it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, and I would. Essentially argue the opposite. So. That is a line item that we have had in the budget for a while. Does not seem to be making any moves. We keep putting it in there under the guise of needing it, or not having it or not needing it. But
But I feel like we are making moves. I mean, he's hired and he's
she's interviewing.
interviewing people. I mean, I think not having salary to pay somebody we're interviewing for is.
Gonna potentially be problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I may have different opinions of our law enforcement needs in this town. Those are the rest of the
I'm sure
board, so.
I think he's starting to try to move into not doing it anymore. And so, but now he's starting to actually. Not bringing, and he's not looking to bring Waldo County over. Which I think was what. Overall, everybody kind of wanted, was to have somebody that was here, not relying on Waldo County to provide our law enforcement. When he decides that he's done, but I don't, that was my understanding when I talked to him. And so that he's wanting to retire eventually, but he needs somebody here first. And now he was just looking at it more seriously. Cause we haven't had it for,
It was last year and this year,
yeah, it was only the past 2 years.
or
that
I
we
guess
funded
this
it,
year,
right?
this year and next year.
Next year.
I think it's
So-
fine.
Cause I thought that we had it for like multiples and then I was looking and I don't think we'd funded it since 2020.
So just to close on capital reserve, we wouldn't necessarily add anything, but if it's not used, it can roll into a capital reserve line for saving for the future.
In fact, we can do that with the existing 14,000. If it ends up not being used, we can absolutely put that.
In June. At the end of
Yeah,
June.
we can absolutely put that in capital reserve.
Okay. Great. Do we have any additional information from our auditor about the undesignated fund
No.
balance?
No,
Sad.
Brian, you query her tomorrow if we get email, or you could call her. See how much closer she is to.
Yeah, her answer was basically, she didn't have enough information to tell us what the undesignated fund balance would be, and she wouldn't have that information for at least a couple of months.
So. I mean, obviously, the biggest other one here is the road reconstruction
And or paving.
and or paving. Do we need $300,000 in it? I mean, I know we will spend as much money as we have in there. Do we want to put 300 in this year? Did we go to 200?
Well, that's not only paving, that's also,
East Shore.
Yeah,
Well, East Shore was in
But
the,
I would
East
pull
Shore's
it
done, but-
if we had a big problem,
We
but
still-
we're budgeting 150,000 for. Billy Shore,
Billy Shore.
that's.
Is Lorena's done? Lorena's Cove? is that
No,
done?
but that's in this fiscal year.
Okay.
That's a number we can't do this year. I mean, a 15% increase would be 230 versus what we budgeted, what was? No, 200, yeah. We've already spent 200,
Yes,
and that's on what?
stabilization project?
But is that concluded?
No,
we're gonna be taking some from undesignated fund balance to.
We will.
To cover that too.
yeah, it's coming out of the road line, not capital reserve, 'cause I've already pulled from capital reserve.
So is a 250 number good? I mean,
Cause if you look at 23, we spent almost 500,000.
23, what that factor, is that the big rebuild on, to make sure? What would we do in 23 for almost $500,000?
I think it was just,
East Shore was close to a million.
Well, that was just last.
But that was just.
yeah, that was
year.
last year.
Yeah, but the other
I
years,
think that, cause it costs,
About $100,000 a mile. Paving.
Oh,
yeah, and that was when they went through a bunch of the up island paving, or like the fixing off of Meadow Pond, wasn't it, in 23?
I'm not sure. I had FY 20.
I mean, if you look at it, it's $100,000 a mile. And
That couldn't have all been paving.
no, that's gotta be something.
Usually I don't spend over 300, because then there's ferry fares, that might be 50,000, and there's 40,000.
But you can't tell what that 476 was.
I'd have to go in and pull out my FY 23 book
Oh, gotcha.
and look at the
I mean,
actual.
we can bring it down to 200,
That's fine.
you can wear that,
We're already at 200 for this past year.
I know, yeah. I also have unpopular opinions about spending these huge chunks of change on these roads that are every year falling worse and worse and have so few residents that I'm kind of torn a little bit to dedicate this much money to a project like that versus making sure to put it into projects that benefit the whole road that everybody uses, going from, you know, the store to the dump or to the school or what
No,
have you.
I agree.
So I would be inclined to cut it back down to 200 regardless of whether or not we already spent that. We're not involved in like or anything, so.
we told nothing ever. Sorry, that was an internal thought that came out.
But
Well, she's looking for that. We're looking at putting another 30,000 in for float and inclines.
For future work.
Right, did we take that out of what Harbor was asking for?
No, because they're asking for that now. This is saving for future work.
Okay, so can we take the floats and inclines down to like the plan?
I think the harbor is falling apart.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I know nothing about it, so I need somebody else to,
I wouldn't mess with that too much.
okay,
That's one where I would say.
Yeah, I would say,
I'm like,
I would love to encourage the harbor committee to charge mooring fees to get revenue.
Trying
To
to
cover
figure out why we haven't been for 20 years. So
It's complicated.
I've heard of these, I've heard of these
Things.
complications of Karen Pendleton getting pissed and coming in saying, I won't pay $20.
Oh,
Then,
yes, I'll have
I don't
to
know, buddy,
do some
they're paying 30.
more research
You know?
on that. That's capital reserve, so.
All right, well, let's pick a number here for road construction that we're.
250. 250?
it's lower than 3, it's higher than 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
But
Okay.
if we're trying to pinch pennies out, I mean, that's how I would do it.
No, I'm just being silly, so.
does that allow us to do any paving at all this year?
Not really.
Well, it wouldn't be until the fall.
So wait, we get, just so I know, I thought the feds paid for some of that paving each year, like, or we pay for it every year.
When we pay,
The
yeah, I mean, the
state
state does
for
their
the
state.
They do their state roads.
Ferry,
Right.
that's it.
Oh, yeah, all right, that's
And
right.
we do receive money back from the state for roads, it's about 39,000, they base it on a per mile.
Okay,
And,
well. Yeah, 240, 250, I think it's reasonable, because you can't stop.
Right, the stabilization projects have to be done.
Yeah, plus, I mean, the
Yeah.
roads
The
have to
longer
be
we ignore
maintained.
them, the worse they're gonna get.
This is not the year to have a 33% increase on the road. I would go to 250. I mean,
250?
yeah, I think we're saving 50. That's a big number for us this year.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And you're still paying attention. That's so good.
I am.
Hey, I'm glad.
Where are you, Lauren?
Palm Springs.
Holy
My
moly.
favorite spot.
Mhm. There's a little golf course out here.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, there's only 1,500 of them.
1,500 Palm Springs.
No,
Golf courses.
Golf courses.
Palm Springs, it's all one big,
There are at least a couple Palm Springs, right?
Oh,
is there?
not really.
Probably
Palm
not
Desert,
like
Palm
that.
Springs,
I
you
think
know.
there's one in Florida.
Well, there is, yeah.
Coral Springs.
There's only one real Palm Springs.
Warren is Palm Springs.
Is there any other capital reserves we wanna look at?
How'd we
So-
do?
I mean, I don't know if you're keeping track, because I just have, looking at from last year,
Yep,
I have total of all of our changes is reducing it by 409,780. So from today, that's, well, we saved $57,000.
wait. But, well, we were at what is the total increase for the year? Based on that?
I have that as an 8% increase for the size of the budget. And a 14% increase to the taxpayer,
And we were at initially,
17 and 24.
yeah, that's, I think we've,
So we've cut our increase in half. Still an increase, but
We're below 15%.
Yeah, that's not bad.
no,
I don't know what the pool.
I mean, they're,
2.9?
yeah, it was pretty low. I mean, especially compared to last year's.
Yeah. Or we could go for it super heavy handed and say, no, we won't pay for the preschool's insurance increase. Tell the lighthouse,
That
no,
was
they're only gonna get 15, you know, tell Harbor, they only get half of what they want, you know? And that way we can prioritize the structural needs.
but we just went through this and we all agreed on the numbers, and now you're,
I think
We've gone through it like
Right.
5 times and we've all agreed on the numbers,
Right.
but now that we see the final number,
you want.
are you actually, no, I'm saying that that's the other option that I see, is either go through it heavy-handed without emotion and do it strictly off of this number, or that number that Shay has is fine.
it's easy enough to tell me what that percentage would be if we drop $4,000 more off of it.
It's very easy, that's why I like doing it this way.
Right.
Percentage wise, I don't know if that's really.
I mean, it's the 9% increase, and I mean, it's 14.8, so we're gonna still have like 15% increase.
Right,
If you took away the 4,000 additional that we're giving them more in their unidentified health insurance subsidy. I have a real issue with that. I understand that what their situation they're put into, where they're not, they legally not allowed to ask what they're doing with that. But if there's no way to ensure, like, if they're paying them $6,000 additional on top of, what did she say, a $33,000 to $39,000 salary? Do we
33 to 35.
33 to 35, which can, on their math, at 178 broken across 4 people would put that average salary at 44,500.
What it also doesn't take into account FICA and all of the, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a bunch,
The 7.25.
right, there's a bunch
FICA,
of expenses that go into a salary that's not just what somebody takes home.
Correct, there's also insurance benefits and there's retirement packages and such.
But except they don't have any of that.
But there's also just state taxes that come.
Yeah, I mean,
That comes out.
I just think we're. Okay. I think if we're trying to find ways to penny pinch, and we're trying to find ways to slim down. Giving them what feels like a somewhat arbitrary additional $1,000 to a $6,000 stuff, you know.
Are we really revisiting this again with them gone and we had come to an agreement? It just seems like we're
I'm sorry,
winding
Lauren,
up.
I thought we were just going through all of it again with if there was anything else that we could take off, or are you comfortable with the 15% increase going to the town?
I'm comfortable with the 15% increase going to the town.
Can I ask, is there any chance that we believe that we could take any, $100,000 undesignated fund balance, or is that just a dangerous game that you?
I think I would feel all right with 100. That doesn't, you know, because I just know that we'll have road money that we'll need to take from there at the end of June, but 100,000 should be safe.
Yeah, I think that's conservative, but yeah, we can,
I mean, so
it doesn't exist.
what is 100,000,
Undesignated.
it moves us what, a couple percent?
But
It just seems like,
It gets us down to 11.
So,
No,
here.
sorry, that's 150. Too optimistic.
well. I. I was, I like to tell people, we worked our best and these are the true numbers. We could do 100,000. But then what is that, what could that
It's
impact?
kicking the can down the road.
Right.
And I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, in a year or two, if we got in a real pinch and we had to, okay, then. But
We do need to go back through them.
well, I'm saying we leave it as is. I don't think this is the year to just take money that we're, savings and move it to something, but that's my opinion.
Well, I mean,
Or if you did 50,000, then it's what, 13 point, so. Maybe that's a compromise, I could live with that, but
no, I think so just storytelling wise. I mean, last year we took 225 from undesignated fund balance, so if you added that back in, just looking at real, at the real impact to the budget, I mean, then all of a sudden you're down to like 9%. So I think not having it in this year's budget, I mean, it hurts because it shows that we have a 15% increase, but looking ahead to future years, I think it's much more realistic for the size budget that we could have and probably have fewer big increases in the future. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I mean, the same way this happened to the school last year, right?
Yeah.
Where they had a huge increase and now it's a 2% increase.
right.
But take the paving down to 200. Take another 50 away.
I mean, if we went to 200 and didn't touch undesignated fund balance, so we felt like we had some more cushion there to take it for capital projects. If major things arose. That would make me feel better. I just remember Jordy coming in here and saying like this stretch of road. I'd really like to see paved, like I don't wanna
It's
keep,
crumbling.
right, I don't wanna,
We have
it's,
to do that.
yeah. So I don't wanna take, use all of that money and not have any money to. Do other repairs, although we do have the other repairs lines in the road, so,
Which have been reduced, don't forget.
right,
So,
And there's nothing that we can go through with IMB for reductions or anything like that, right? We already
No.
talked about that.
I mean, I can take 5,000 from the sea level rise and go to 25, I think.
I think that Steve's right. I think that this isn't the year for everybody to be trying to get it. I think that we should have what the museum's asking for, half what fire, public safety, public works, all of them all did their really best with trying to streamline their budgets, and they only came in minimal, if not just a squeak over their cost of living raises. And so I worry that we're doing a disservice to all of them that were very efficient in watching their budgets and what they're gonna do to still have this much of an increase. I mean, even the health center came back and they whacked the crap out of theirs, and I respect them for that, even though it's still high. They came back in with a more reasonable request, and so I think that some of these. I don't know, I think that maybe that's where my motivation is coming for no, Steve has sat here multiple times, and I do agree with him, like, since it's gonna be a high year with the initials anyways. We'll just have to ask people to make do.
Well, I mean, remember, the town wants to make changes to it when it comes up to the vote.
So
They
that's
can,
true.
they can
That is,
Yeah,
They
that's
can-
always.
try to nitpick. I'm looking forward to another 13-hour meeting.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Sleeping bag.
You're a food truck.
You're not going to go?
13 hours to do that again.
I mean, you are on the select board, you
Yeah.
you are. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a budget that we all own. I do, like, that feels really important to me, like, I want a budget that everybody is going to vote and approve, that this is what the select board
Right.
recommends.
One of the problems last year at that school board is they had a descending individual, and we can't do that, so now's the time to make sure we're all in agreement on these numbers. I mean, I'm flexible. I mean, I agreed. I thought it's symbolic. That's good. I mean, but your point, I agree with your point. People have done it, but I'm not sure we're now, if we wanted to take the road down another 30, 40, you're talking some dollars then.
So just to, I may have was too fast with my deleting here, so the changes that I have right now with these assumptions is $7,000 from the preschool savings. I took $5,000 out of the C-level rise capital reserve and $50,000, which is, when I was messing around, that came out, so that we are now at a 13.5% increase impact to the town.
And the road,
And that
capital reserve, what did you?
would be
do?
at 250.
Leave it at 250?
If that's how the numbers as I currently have them played with. Recognizing that my playing is like, what he does is really what's important, this is all just like.
Monopoly.
Right?
It's not real.
No, it's not, because this doesn't include the Waldo County, like, but this is
Yeah.
just what we have control over.
I agree on presenting united front.
Any dissent on these points? Are you okay with this?
Mhm.
Lauren, are you okay with what we're doing? You said you were. Are we still okay?
I am definitely okay.
And the main guy over there?
Sure, I'll go with the majority. I have
Okay.
opinions, but we're not gonna solve them tonight, so. I'll go with what the crowd says.
Okay.
I am
Peter?
okay with the 13.5%.
And I think we tell people, we have the option of going into reserves. To drop it, and we didn't. Right?
I don't think we say that because we saw that last year at the town meeting when the school went into their
Well,
reserves
you're
and
right. I
everything.
mean,
into-
we don't wanna increase.
No,
the
we say this,
complexity.
we did the absolute best that we could with the
The needs that we
necessities
have.
that we have.
Yeah.
And that we went through it 5 different times. This is what we came up with.
Good point. No, you're right. I agree.
When you
So-
get into the weeds, it gets real tall.
Yeah, well, they'll take us to the weeds, so.
Well, I mean, the increases that I have here is was like $45,000 is basically in COLA. We've got like 60,000 in insurance and paid
Right.
family medical leave. We've got $145,000, which was voter approved for the municipal building, which is the first year we're paying, starting on principal. So that's something that is going to be a one-time hurt as far as increase in size of budget, but will be not a major increase in future years. $300,000 in roads, although that number is wrong now because we don't have, it's.
Right.
Look and see how much it actually is now, and $65,000 for the municipal building. I mean, I think we're just in a situation where we've got to invest in a lot of infrastructure. And I mean, I think everybody can kind of agree on that.
I think going forward though, we should. Start to consider how to handle these enormous municipal projects on these little side roads that we keep getting ourselves, right,
Right.
keep getting ourselves into, and I don't know what a solution would be for it. But I can't support, I mean, it's hard for me to sit there and think about dropping $1 million into fixing the East Shore Drive, and then here we are trying to budget in hopes that we can pave the main roads, which also desperately need to be paved and desperately benefit far more people. And I think going forward, I think we should figure out how to approach that. I don't know what it would be, but. It's only gonna be a matter of time before. People catch on to that. And I think start seeing it more my way. Maybe.
I mean, I completely agree, it's disgusting is maybe the wrong word, but it's a tremendous amount of money that we poured into one road. At the same time, if I lived on East Shore Drive for the past 10 to 20 years, and the state that it gets into in mud season, I mean, I would be in here all of the time. I mean, I think it's difficult to maintain dirt roads, and the more dirt roads that we have that are town roads,
Yeah. I mean,
You know, it's
especially
just-
with
Along the coastline.
right? I don't know how to, I don't know how to fit, I mean, I agree
Other
with
than,
you,
other
like,
than looking into figuring out how to take them from public to private, I don't know. I
Good
don't
luck.
know what process that would be,
That would have to be voted on.
yeah.
But like East Shore
But
Drive,
not really
people
here.
didn't used to live out there year round.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the problem with
Yeah.
some of these.
sure.
I mean, I know that there has been a committee in the past working to negotiate
Discontinue.
right, and I don't know, I
Yeah,
mean,
they do.
nothing has been as major as East Shore
Oh,
Drive, there was
God.
like very small
Yeah,
driveway
but
type
I-
situations.
I'd like to work on another exit for East Shore Drive other than the cemetery.
Mhm.
That's what someone ought to come up with some land and shoot out onto Hamilton Point Road.
Some message about
It used to
exactly
come
that.
out on, what is it? No, you go down past our houses and hang a right out,
Hughes
Hughes
Point?
Point. Yeah, out at Hughes Point. I used to watch that as a kid.
Yeah, I think horse and buggy went through there. I don't think cars ever.
Yeah, I don't know if the
Were
cars.
you dodging dinosaurs when you're?
The Doyle Farm, they didn't want the road going through
Of
their
course they don't.
property, so that's.
All right, so we made 3 changes tonight,
Good job.
and we're not voting because this is a workshop, so let's just get out of here.
Second.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so as soon as we get
Hi, Lauren.
email back, I will send everybody a new copy of with these changes.
Yeah.
We have, because the town website never came back, right?
It came back up, but was broken and then was back down and now it's completely inaccessible again.
Yeah,
So
he's,
I know that this is like now super unhelpful, but like, I know that Paige feels very strongly about not going with like the big companies, that he prefers the small independent things, but like, I just want our email to work and our town website to work, like it not working is, especially like, it's not an option, like, we're in the middle of budget season.
It's
people
also
need to be
been
able to
ongoing for a
communicate.
week.
Right, it's just
It's
not
what?
okay.
Been ongoing for a week.
Oh, here we
And
go.
he did,
Intermittently,
he
but,
did
yeah.
move everything to a new server.
Okay.
Which, that was last week.
Well,
What is the problem? Did he say?
it got hacked.
But
Is it a server that we physically have?
no, it's not here.
Cloud.